Why does Russia want to control Ukraine? To answer this question, we must delve into the annals of history, starting with the formation of the Kyivan Rus state. In the 9th century, a new chapter began to unfold in the vast expanse of Eastern Europe, marking the birth of the first East Slavic state, the Kyivan Rus. The story of its formation is as fascinating as it is significant. It was a time when the lands were wild and untamed, and the rivers served as highways connecting the scattered tribes. Enter the Vikings, or Varangians, as they were known in these parts. Not just fierce warriors, these Norse traders were also skilled navigators and diplomats. They saw an opportunity in this land, a chance to establish trade routes connecting the Baltic and Black Seas. And so, they founded the Kyivan Rus state, a federation of Slavic tribes under their leadership. But the Kyivan Rus was not just about trade and territorial expansion. It was also about the melding of cultures and the shaping of a unique identity. An identity that would leave an indelible mark on the region's future. In the year 988, under the reign of Prince Vladimir the Great, the Kyivan Rus made a monumental decision that would forever shape its cultural and political landscape. They adopted Christianity from Byzantium, aligning themselves with the European Christian world. This was not just a spiritual choice, but a strategic one, strengthening their ties with powerful Christian states and setting them apart from their pagan and Muslim neighbors. However, like all great states of its time, the Kyivan Rus had its share of trials and tribulations. It was beset by internal feuds, invasions, and ultimately its own decline. But despite its relatively short existence, the impact of the Kyivan Rus was profound and far-reaching. The Kyivan Rus state, although short-lived, laid the foundation for the nations we now know as Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. The cultural, religious, and political roots planted during this time continue to influence these nations, shaping their identities and destinies, and playing a pivotal role in the geopolitical drama that unfolds even today. The 13th century brought devastation to the region with the Mongol invasions, leading to the fragmentation of the Kyivan Rus state. The impact of the Mongol onslaught was nothing short of catastrophic, as the formerly unified Kyivan Rus state shattered into smaller principalities, each vying for power in the vacuum left by the Mongols' destructive path. The Mongols, led by Batu Khan, grandson of the infamous Genghis Khan, descended upon the Kyivan Rus in the winter of 1237 and unleashed a terror the likes of which the region had never seen. Cities were razed, populations decimated, and an era of Kyivan Rus came to a brutal and abrupt end. This fragmentation of the Kyivan Rus state created an opportunity for Poland and Lithuania. By the 14th century, a large part of what we now know as Ukraine became part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. This was a federation of sorts, a union between the Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which at its height was one of the largest and most populous countries of 16th and 17th century Europe. This incorporation into the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth had a profound cultural influence on the region. Ukrainian nobility started adopting Catholicism, the official religion of the Commonwealth, and the Polish language and customs became prevalent among the elite. However, the Orthodox Church and the use of the Ruthenian language remained strong among the common people, creating a unique blend of cultures that is still evident in Ukraine today. Yet this period was not without its tensions. The Orthodox majority often found itself at odds with the Catholic minority, leading to numerous uprisings and conflicts. This cultural and religious divide would come to shape the region's identity and add another layer to the complex tapestry of Ukrainian history. The Mongol invasions and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth significantly shaped Ukraine's cultural and political landscape, but the greatest change was yet to come. By the 17th century, the Tsars of newly formed Russia started to gain control over Ukraine, setting the stage for centuries of Russian influence and control. As we delve further into the annals of history, we find Ukraine gradually being absorbed into the Russian Empire. This period of absorption was not without its tumultuous events, one of the most notable being the Treaty of Pereyaslav. Signed in the mid-17th century, this treaty was a turning point in the relationship between Ukraine and Russia. The Treaty of Pereyaslav was an agreement of protection and allegiance. The Ukrainian Cossacks, facing threats from the Ottoman Empire and Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, sought the protection of the Russian Tsar. In return, they pledged their loyalty to the Tsar, effectively marking the beginning of Russia's control over Ukraine. However, this merger was far from seamless. The Tsars, eager to solidify their control, began a series of measures aimed at suppressing Ukrainian identity. This included attempts to Russify the Ukrainian population, limiting the use of the Ukrainian language, and imposing Russian Orthodox Christianity as the dominant religion. These attempts to suppress Ukrainian identity were met with resistance on many fronts. The Ukrainian people clung fiercely to their language, culture, and traditions, maintaining a distinct Ukrainian identity despite the pressures from their Russian rulers. The cultural implications of this period were profound, as the Ukrainian people were forced to reconcile their unique identity with the political reality of Russian control. This tension between Ukrainian identity and Russian influence would continue to shape the relationship between Russia and Ukraine, sowing the seeds for future conflicts. In the political realm, this incorporation into the Russian Empire led to a significant power shift. Ukraine, once a region with its own rulers and governance structures, became a subject of the Russian Tsars. This shift in power dynamics would have lasting implications, setting the stage for the complex and often contentious relationship between Russia and Ukraine. The incorporation of Ukraine into the Russian Empire set the stage for the complex and often contentious relationship between Russia and Ukraine. The 20th century brought new challenges and opportunities for Ukraine, as it struggled for independence amidst the chaos of two world wars and the rise and fall of the Soviet Union. As the embers of the Great War cooled, Ukraine found itself briefly tasting independence in 1918, a momentary breath of freedom before the storm. Yet, this flicker of sovereignty was extinguished by the tides of history, as the country was swept into the vortex of the burgeoning Soviet Union. The 1930s saw one of the darkest chapters in Ukraine's history. The Holodomor, a brutal man-made famine orchestrated by Stalin's regime, claimed the lives of millions of Ukrainians. This horrific event was a stark reminder of the brutal control the Soviet Union held over Ukraine, a grim shadow that loomed over the country's quest for independence. But the spirit of Ukraine proved indomitable. Even as the horrors of the Second World War raged, the desire for a distinct Ukrainian identity remained unquenched. The war years saw a resurgence of Ukrainian nationalism, a flame that refused to be extinguished, even in the face of the Soviet behemoth. The end of the 20th century brought dramatic changes. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 opened the door for Ukraine to reclaim its sovereignty. After more than 70 years under Soviet rule, Ukraine emerged as an independent nation. The blue and yellow flag was raised high, a symbol of a new beginning and a testament to the resilience of the Ukrainian people. Yet, independence did not herald an end to Ukraine's struggles. The country found itself grappling with deep-seated corruption, economic instability, and a contentious relationship with its powerful neighbor, Russia. The echoes of history continue to reverberate, shaping Ukraine's present and future. Despite numerous challenges, Ukraine emerged as an independent nation in 1991, but its struggles were far from over. The story of Ukraine is a testament to the resilience of its people and their unyielding desire for independence. It's a story of a nation that remains steadfast, even when buffeted by the winds of history. Today, Ukraine finds itself in a precarious position, caught in a tug-of-war between the West and Russia. This is the latest chapter in a long, complex narrative that has seen Ukraine's sovereignty constantly challenged. In 2014, the world watched as Russia annexed Crimea, a move that violated international law and was widely condemned. Ukraine, along with the majority of the international community, refuses to recognize this annexation. A simmering conflict in eastern Ukraine, known as the Donbass War, has further strained relations. This conflict has resulted in thousands of deaths and displaced over 1 million people, creating a humanitarian crisis on Europe's doorstep. These events are not just about territorial disputes, they have far-reaching geopolitical implications. Ukraine is a strategic buffer between Russia and the NATO alliance. Its vast agricultural resources, industrial output, and access to Black Sea ports make it a prize worth fighting for. For Russia, control over Ukraine is also about maintaining a sphere of influence and projecting power on the global stage. Meanwhile, the West sees a democratic Ukraine integrated into Europe as a bulwark against Russian aggression. The conflict has thus become a proxy war, with Russia and the West vying for influence over Ukraine's future. But we must remember, this is not just a geopolitical chess game. At the heart of the conflict are the Ukrainian people, who have repeatedly demonstrated their desire for self-determination. From the Orange Revolution in 2004 to the Euromaidan protests in 2013 and 14, Ukrainians have shown their determination to chart their own course, even in the face of formidable challenges. The history of Ukraine is a testament to its resilience and determination to assert its sovereignty. But as history has shown, the question of why Russia wants to control Ukraine is deeply rooted in a shared and often contentious past. This ongoing conflict is just the latest manifestation of that complex history. As we look to the future, the resolution of this conflict will shape not just Ukraine's destiny, but the geopolitical landscape of Europe and beyond.